Hello. So this is the first of a series of 10 to 15-minute videos where I blog or vlog or journal the corruption I've experienced in the country of England. Law or statute law is territorially, it extends to England and Wales. Scotland has their separate laws in the UK, and Northern Ireland has theirs, I think. So I was born in England. I was born in Paddington Hospital, London. And apart from 5 years when I lived in Nigeria, between the ages of 17 to 22, I've lived in England all my life. And my experience is this is a horrifically corrupt country, an evil country, a devil's country, run by devils, controlled by devils. It's a really devilish country. It's a country which induces many suicides. It's a country which is psychologically oppressive. I would say it's a country which wages a lot of psychological warfare on its own people. It's been waging the psychological warfare in the last year or so to a massive degree. People working for the government have even been writing documents which have become known publicly, advising the government to ramp up the fear. And people have committed suicide during the events of the last year. People have committed suicide. So it's an evil country. It's a psychologically evil country. So I've experienced a lot of bad experiences in this country, a lot of nasty experiences. And these are to do with experiences from people who think they're in positions of authority. People that work for local government institutions like council social services, Islington Council, for example. I've experienced a lot of nasty stuff from staff of Islington Council. That's an example of that. But in the last 7 or so years, the things I've experienced, horrific things I've experienced, horrific abuses I've experienced, are from my brother, Stephen, or Bayo, as I call him. That's the name my parents call him, his Nigerian name, his Yoruba name. He works for the British Transport Police. His sister-in-law, Emily Copson. Her married surname is now Kapoor, I've learnt. She is his sister-in-law, and she's a solicitor who, at the time I'm talking about, was working for a law firm called Withers, an international law firm called Withers, based in the City of London, 16 Old Bailey, which is next to the building that I was abused at, which is the 15 Old Bailey. So that's, I'm already talking about a policeman and a solicitor. I would go on further to say I've suffered at the hands of at least 3 English police forces. Essex Police, which is the police force, the police force corporation, I might add, because the police forces in England are all registered companies or corporations. So that's Essex Police, who my brother reported me to for harassment when it was him that has actually committed perjury and fraud in order to exclude me as an executor of my mother's will, which she named me as in writing in her will. So that's Essex Police, who first sent me an email harassment warning called a PIN, or I think it's a public information notice or personal information notice. It's a harassment warning. It was unsolicited, it was unexpected, it was unasked for. The police officer, Daniel Littlefield, did not write me to make any inquiries first, anything like that. It was not invited at all. More about the very dodgy harassment so-called law statute. It's a statute in England later. And Essex Police also tried to have me actually prosecuted for what is termed racially aggravated harassment. Racially aggravated harassment. I only found out about that when I made a complaint about a certain Essex police sergeant, either a sergeant or a constable. It's confusing because he called himself a sergeant, but when I made the complaint, they wrote me back and said he was a constable. So it sounds like he was impersonating a sergeant. So he on the instigation of this fraudster police brother, he tried to have me prosecuted for racially aggravated harassment. And this racially aggravated harassment gives a sentence of 5 to 7 years maximum sentence. This is the sort of action my so-called my police so-called brother tried to inflict on me after having committed perjury and fraud against me. So that's Essex Police. Essex Police. By the way, the action that this police sergeant tried to take against me, he took it as far as the Crown Prosecution Service. He sent it to the Crown Prosecution Service, and they declined to prosecute me. This is only what I found out after I made a complaint. So Essex Police, Cumbria Constabulary, that's Cumbria Police Corporation. They're also a corporation. Cumbria Constabulary have been involved in arresting me for nothing at all when I visited the main office of the solicitors. The name is Gedye and Sons. Gedye, Gedye, and Sons. I visited their main office in Grange over Sands. It's a village in Cumbria, which is in the north-west of England, whereas I am in the London, which is much further south. So I visited this main office because these are the architects. This firm, this wills and probate firm, were the architects of my exclusion as a legally named executor of my mother's estate. And the chief architect is a solicitor, very crooked, very nasty, very evil solicitor, named Richard Roberts, solicitor of over 30 years, who took advantage of me, who knew nothing about probate. He invited me to a meeting room in 15 Old Bailey, and he literally ambushed me in that office. He literally abused me. He's a white solicitor, by the way, and he comes from an almost all-white area of England, Cumbria, and when I visited the town of Grange over Sands, it's almost all white, And so the fact that he's white and I'm black, and he invited me to an office, a meeting room, and abused me in that meeting room. He lied to me, he manipulated me, he threatened me. That is very significant. And the abuse I suffered from Cumbria Constabulary when I went to the north west of England, to Grange over Sands in Cumbria, to the main office, is also very racially significant. I couldn't mistake it. Almost all the police I've encountered in Cumbria have been white, and the abuse I've suffered from Cumbria Constabulary has been horrific, as I will detail in from now on, in fact, now and in future videos. Cumbria Constabulary. Who else? Let me think of who else. I would say City of London Police also. I would also say the Metropolitan Police, London Metropolitan Police. Although throughout these years I've suffered at the hands of many police, I haven't suffered much from the Metropolitan Police until maybe in the last, let's say maybe since the beginning of this year, because this so-called brother, he tried again to have me threatened with harassment. Why? I don't know. Why? I do not know. Apart from the fact that I sent him emails, but I sent not just him emails, other members of the family emails, and I don't know what he tried to use. I don't know what he tried to use, but I received an email entitled harassment from a Metropolitan police officer sometime in January. I did not even open the email. I did not even open it, but I replied the police officer in no uncertain terms, very detailed email. And I also sent him lots of evidence that I knew that police use the 1997 Protection from Harassment Act. They use it for their own selfish purposes. They use it to take advantage of unsuspecting members of the public. They use it to try and criminalize members of the public who may just happen to be involved in a dispute with someone else. They don't they don't need any evidence to send these harassment warnings. The harassment law is a completely crooked, evil law, and it's not even a law. It's a statute. It's a statute which does not have the force of law except by consent. It's a government regulation. It's not the law of the land. Statute law is not the law of the land. Common law is the law of the land in England. But that has been suppressed by corrupt people. So, okay, so it seems that I've already spent 20 minutes on this. So, I'll spend 10 more minutes and then I'll separate that. So, those are the police that I've suffered from as a result of my so-called brother, who himself is a British Transport Police officer. Oh, I would also include the British Transport Police as those who I've suffered from because my brother's a member of the British Transport Police, a detective constable. But when I complained about him to the British Transport Police, this is probably in 2015, they wrote me back in very cheap, thin, wafer-thin paper, telling me that it's a family matter, and I'm not complaining about something he did while on duty, while serving as a policeman. It wasn't convincing what I was told by them. It wasn't convincing at all. And when I appealed to the appalling Independent Police Complaints Commission, another utterly corrupt governmental body that presides over the British police complaints system, which is utterly corrupt, utterly crooked. My appeal was rejected in a way that was extremely insulting, extremely insulting. I was told, you have tried to manipulate or you have tried to manipulate the police complaints process. What absolute nonsense. All I tried to do was raise a complaint with my brother's police force. This is what this police officer is doing, and maybe he thinks he can do it because he's a police officer. The IPCC, they are notorious in England. They are notorious. They are notorious for blocking complaints. They call themselves independent of the police, when nothing could be further from the truth. They wouldn't. They're totally dependent on the police because they're a companion body to the police. They act as very much in support of the police. They're the last people that one should have to appeal to. That's how corrupt the system is here. They give you corrupt bodies to appeal to, corrupt bodies to complain to, corrupt bodies to seek redress from. So anyway, my this my story is about being it's about being abused by multiple people, multiple people working for so-called government institutions or quasi-government institutions. There may be organisations that are not government organisations, but they've been enabled by English law, like the legal ombudsman, who you're supposed to seek redress if you are taken advantage of or cheated by a solicitor in some way. So my story, is about my brother basically, to his mind in anyway, and to the mind of the solicitors that helped him, removing me as an executor behind my back. Although I wouldn't say he removed me as an executor, I would say that he thinks he removed me as an executor, and he intended to remove me as an executor by fraud. It could only be by fraud unless he went to court and, you know, spent a lot of money, which would have come out of the estate, or maybe he would have to spend his own money to prove that I have not been acting as an executor. I've not been living up to my responsibilities, but that was never the case. It is very difficult to remove an executor that someone has named in their will. So he and Richard Roberts of Gedye Sons, a director of Gedye Sons, have resorted to this fraud using an application, probate application option known as power reserved. It's known as power reserved. So this will have to serve as an introduction, really, because you know, I haven't started the story of what they did to me. So this will just serve as a quite lengthy introduction, you know. I will start the story of what my brother and Gedye Sons, Richard Roberts, and the other director, Mark Jones, the probate manager, Mark Reynolds, and the risk and compliance manager, Nick Davis, did to me. And of course, what my so-called police officer brother did to me. Bye-bye.